Hello again, this is Jennifer Forbes of Forbes Fabulous Fingers coming to you again to show you one more thing you can do with your Jamberry nails. Today we're actually going to be using just Jamberries as they come in the package, but I wanted to talk to you about a specific category that we have. We do have a French tip section. However, when some people go to our website and look at our French tips, they're a little perplexed by the options that they're given. We have customizable French tips that come in short, medium, and long. And that can confuse a lot of people when they're getting ready to order because they don't know what size they should be wearing and how they should be applying them as well. There are a couple of reasons I don't carry French tips in my kit. The first is because they're so customizable, I run into the problem that if someone likes the tip that I'm carrying but I don't have it in their length, they might be a little bit set back by the fact that they're going to have to order something that I already have in my inventory, and I don't really want to order all 3 sizes of every single French tip. The other reason is they look a little odd. I'm going to be using Coral Tigress, which yet again is retired, and I promise I'm going to stop using retired shields fairly soon, I think after my diagonal manicure. But if you look at them, you'll notice that they look different from other Jamberry shields, and that's because they do a French tip design. And a lot of people who are not familiar with Jamberry are looking at this design and saying, well, that doesn't look like anything I ever want on my nail. And I really want to focus on, just getting people to understand how the shields work before they order them. If they order one at a party, I will order them the correct length and they get what they want, and that's excellent. But I don't want to be carrying something in my book that makes people confused. The third reason is that they actually used to look different than this. They used to start with the small and kind of do 2 smalls and then they go up until they did 2 larges. And that was also confusing to some people because it looked different than our other shields did. Now our Jamberry French tips are really cool because out of the 13 that we have currently, only 4 of them don't have clear bases. And that means that with those other 9, you can create different manicures by layering those on top of others. I've seen some really cool jamacures where people have taken the black tip and layered it over the gold sparkle. I've seen, I saw one last week where someone took the zebra tip and layered it over the teal sparkle, which I would have never thought of. It means that you can combine them in all of these endless different ways that give you a completely different look. For example, you could take your black tip and layer it over the fire engine for your Halloween manicure, or vice versa. You could do the fire engine tip over the darkest black, which now that I've thought of it is officially my Halloween jamacure this year, unless I have a better idea. So that allows you to do a lot of different things. So I wanted to talk about how they work, and then I wanted to just show you how they're applied because they look so different from what we're used to. Now in the catalog on page 15, you can actually see a chart where you can measure what length of nail you'll need. Now this chart can be really confusing if you're not sitting there with your consultant, so I wanted to show you how it works. You take your thumb and put it on that little circle that's sitting right there, and you look at the base of the cuticle up to where your quick ends, in other words, where your white begins, and that's going to be what length of Jamberry French tip you need. See, our French tips don't actually measure the length of our nail, they measure the length of our nail base. So instead of worrying about, well, I have really short nails, so I need shorts, you actually might end up with something that doesn't look as good on your nails as it might on if you had gotten mediums or longs because you have a longer nail bed. Now I, again, have freakishly short nails that are freakishly short in all ways because I have short nail beds as well as short nails. So I'll be using the short French tips today. For those of you who don't have a catalog, you can either contact me and ask me for one, or alternatively, you can go to my website, and if you click the catalog button, you will download a PDF of our entire current catalog, and it will have that page in it. The third option is I have a link to my blog, and on that blog post I will have a correctly scaled scan of that page so that you can download it and print it if you'd like. If you're scientific like me, you want to know numbers. And I did want to know the numbers just so I could see what the real difference was. So I actually took some time and I measured my my catalog to see what the difference was between the short, the mediums, and the longs. And this is what I found out. Just so you know, yes, I'm actually American living in Canada, which means I am fluent in both the metric and imperial systems. I'm using metric today because it's way easier to measure things in millimeters than it is eighths and tenths and sixteenths of an inch. I much prefer millimeters to measuring things in inches. So, you know, just flip your ruler over and figure it out. For your thumb, the short length is about 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter. Your medium length will be 11 millimeters and your long will be 14 millimeters. So that means the base from the distance from here to here is 10 millimeters on me, so I'll be using shorts. If it's 14, you need to be using longs. If it's somewhere between 11 and 14, I would go with mediums, and you're just going to have a little bit more of the color showing. For middles, the shorts are 8 millimeters, the mediums are 10 millimeters, and the longs are 13 millimeters. And finally, for our pinkies, the shorts are 6 millimeters, the mediums are 8 millimeters, and the length is and the long is 10 millimeters. So that's really the difference in lengths. And so if you have a ruler just laying around, you can just really quick measure your options and say, oh, well, you know, that's really not that long. Like, I thought my nails were really long. What's going to happen is that your design is going to end here, or your clear is going to end here, and then you're just going to have color on the tip, just like a French tip is supposed to be. So the process for applying Jamberry French tips is precisely the same as applying any other of our nail shields. However, because they look so different, a lot of people are confused as to how they go on. So I just wanted to show you one nail and then get to the rest of it. Like always, I've already cleaned my thumbnail. I've already trimmed the bases of these flat. However, again, they are clear, so I probably didn't need to really do that. What I'm going to be doing today that's a little different is I'm going to be holding the whole nail shield on my stick, and that's so I can preserve as much of the center as possible without having to guess at how long my thumbs are. Sometimes when you guesstimate, you trim too thin and you don't have enough nail shield to actually cover the tips of your nails. The reason I actually try to save the middles of these as much as possible is because some of our French tips come in colors on their tips that we can't get anywhere else. For example, when I'm using my white tips or my Uno Momo or my French tips with bows, I want to save that white part in the middle so that I can do accents later that have white in them. And since we don't have just a white shield, that's the best way for me to get some extra Jamberry white. So I'm just going to hold this in front of the heater because I'm holding the whole shield. Now, something that I was asked last week that I'd actually never been asked was, well, can you reheat this shield? Absolutely. When I was first started doing this, I really didn't understand how it was supposed to work. So I would do my manicures like this all the time, where I was using the entire shield and getting it heated. Okay, so as you saw, it goes on exactly like every other Jamberry shield. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my orange stick attached down here while I make the trimming. That allows me to just stick it back down on the page, and I've cut as little off as possible in the process. So just to reheat it a little bit and use my cuticle pusher to iron down the last little bubbles. Okay, so there's a French tip. I was actually thinking about this the other day about how I had tried to do my own French tip designs about the time my daughter was born and how awful they came out looking, and I'm really pleased with how that looks. So, like I was saying, I'm much more pleased with being able to do a French tip this way than I have ever been trying to replicate one in my own home. I hear a couple of questions when it comes to ordering French tips and concerns of clients. And one of them I hear is, what if I order the wrong size? You know, what if I order shorts and I'm a medium? Or what if I order shorts and I'm a long? Or what if I order longs and I'm a short? You know, the nice thing is that Jamberry does have a 30-day money-back guarantee. You're going to get your nail shields well within that period. And, you know, as your consultant, I take every step I can to make sure you get the right size. So if you get the wrong size, you can automatically return that to Jamberry and they'll exchange it for the correct size. The other question I get asked is, what if one of my fingers is a different length than the others? For example, what if I have one tiny nail and the rest of them are longs? Well, first of all, if you have one long nail and the other ones are short, all you're going to end up with is, you know, one nail that has a slightly longer color showing than the others. Because most of ours are clear, you can always move that up a little bit on your nail if you don't like how that looks. But, you know, most people are pleased with just having a little bit extra. Now, if one's shorter than the others, for example, take my pinkies. They both broke this week while I had on shields, and I had to clip them almost down to the quick. So what I did was I took my scissors and I trimmed off approximately another, you know, millimeter or two of shield at the bottom and put that right up against my cuticles so that I still have some pink showing. And I'm really pleased with how that turned out. So if you have one nail that's longer or shorter than the others, you can just adapt those shields to meet your needs. And again, as your consultant, I come over and I help you figure out how to do that if you're having any issues. So that's how our Jamberry French tips work. I did want to show you also the excess that's left in the middle, that's left over for doing accents or, you know, other designs that I plan to get to doing at some point in the future. But, you know, I'm working on it. If you also are curious as to why this is French Tips video part 1, that's because I'm planning on doing a completely custom French tip that has, you know, no ability to do them with our shields that are already available, and that way I can show you the proper way of doing that. However, I'm still working out the kinks on how to actually do that, so I'll get to that probably within the next month or so. For now, this is Jennifer Forbes of Forbes Fabulous Fingers signing off. Don't forget to subscribe for all of my Jamberry advanced tips and tricks, and I'll see you next time.